spoilers. It's Quana back again with another review. It is Sunday night, and that means it is time for Lovecraft Country. So spoilers for episode 6. Meet me in Daegu. I think that's how you say it. Forgive me, not up on my Korean. But we're gonna talk about the show. I'm gonna talk about what happened, some theories I have, and what connections this has to the main storyline. So if you have not checked out the episode yet, beware, this is major spoilers for episode 6 as well as episodes 1 through 5 as I kind of tie some of this stuff in together. So before we get started, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button so you can be with me every week as we talk about this show that is taking us on such an interesting ride. So this episode is set in Korea, and it is a flashback to Atticus's time during the Korean War. If you will recall from the very first episode, the very first intro sequence where Atticus is dreaming, and we get to the montage of all of the pulp fiction figures. You have the aliens, you have like the kind of merging between all of the different realms of the fiction as well as the influences in his life in the war. And then during that sequence, we got the princess from Mars that descends, who is Jiha, the character played by Jamie Chung. And obviously, this is a past love interest from him. We see her in that sequence, and then we see her again. We hear her voice later on in the episode as he places a phone call to her. And then we see her again in episode 2 in a vision that he has where she is fighting him. So this episode is all about her because he calls her at the end of episode 5 and she tells him, I told you not to go back. Basically that he is going to die. So this episode was, first of all, visually stunning. Stunning episode. And Jamie Chung is one of my favorite actresses to kind of pop up every once in a while on some of my favorite shows. She played Mulan in Once Upon a Time. And so she is just a very strong actress. I hate that we don't get to see her more. And she was very good in this episode. And I was shocked to find out that she was 37. I thought that she was considerably younger than me, but she is the same age as me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like even more one with her. So anyway, let's recap the episode. So we meet her character. She is this young nursing student in Korea. Her mother, she's trying to convince her mother that her degree is a good idea. Her mother just wants her seemingly to bring home a man. Well, the next time we see her, she is in a movie theater and she is watching, well, actually, this is the opening sequence. She's watching one of my favorite movies of all time, Meet Me in St. Louis. I know you're like, let me check your black card, but I love Meet Me in St. Louis. I love Judy Garland, and they were playing the Trolley song, which is one of my favorites. Great Christmas movie, by the way, if you haven't watched it, Meet Me in St. Louis. And she's basically dancing on stage. She has visions of, Hollywood and entertainment in one sense. And I kind of thought they were going to play with that a little bit more, but I mean, it ties in later with the episode, but it just kind of more or less grounds the time period, I think, more than anything. Well, anyway, like I said before, her mother really wants her to bring home a man. And so the next time we see her, she is at the hospital, and they're in class, and she hears this friend of hers basically say how she catches this guy, how she gets this guy to fall in love with her. So they go to a speed date. We see her at speed dating. I didn't even know speed dating was a thing that they would have had back then, but apparently so. And all of the people have these little bingo cards. And at first I was like, wait, are they playing bingo? But then you see that like they're crossing out her as the guys are talking to her and they're not into her. She meets this one guy who knows about the movie, and he comments how sad it was when Judy Garland's character sings Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas to her little sister Tootie, and it's like a perfect match. But then he crosses her off. He has the hots for her friend. Well, they invite her to go with them on the date, and she does, and she entices him and leads him back to her house. And so at this point, it's clear that, like, it's not just that mom wants her to bring home a man, like, get married. No, she wants her to bring home a man. And so I was like, wait, are we going to do kind of like a brothel type situation going on here? Well, they start to get it in. It is very apparent very early on that there is magic as she lights one of the candles, and all of the candles in the room light up, and they start getting it in. And then all of a sudden, these tentacles start coming out of her ears, out of her eyes, out of everywhere on her body. And I'm like, whoa, this is severely like some anime type stuff right here. And they leech onto him and they start sucking the life force out of him. And I'm like, oh wow, she's like a succubus character, and she's literally sucking the life, the soul out of him. And she sees his life and his future aspirations and his hopes and everything flash before her eyes as he then explodes into a million pieces all over everything, because it's Lovecraft country and it's like high octane blood and gore. Anyhow, back to Jihan. She goes back into talking to her friend. The troops, American troops, are here and they're arriving to fight the war, and they start talking about all of the American troops and basically how they are assaulting these women and they don't care about them and they don't see them. And so we get this kind of a, not really a montage, but this little hint that she's going to start using the American soldiers who are being cruel to the people there and using them, because we find out some backstory about her and her powers. Well, her mother took her to some kind of shaman, um, because she had been sick and ill, and so in order to heal her, she got turned into a um, kumino, kumino, kumio, kumiho, kumiho. I think is how you say it, kumiho. I'm struggling here, which is like a fox spirit, and it can sometimes take the form of a beautiful woman in order to entice men and suck their souls out, basically. And they exist like in multiple different cultures, so please, I'm trying my best with the pronunciation there, but I know it is a fox spirit, and that is what she's been turned into. And her mother wants her daughter back, and so apparently she has to suck the souls out of 100 men in order to return to her human self. And so she starts to do this. Well, at one point, she and the other nurses are captured by the American soldiers because someone is spying against them. And the American troops start shooting the nurses, thinking that they are a communist sympathizer or a communist spy. And who do we finally see? We see Atticus as the commanding officer's gun runs out of bullets, and he has to draw his gun, and he kills the the nurse sitting right next to her and is about to kill Jiha when her friend Yuma, I think, I can't remember her name, but like announces that she is the spy in order to save Jiha's life. And so they take her, and you know that she's going to be tortured and killed. Well, later on, Atticus has been injured in a bombing, and Gia sees him and she goes full on Super Saiyan mode. Like blood is over her hands because she's been helping these soldiers, and she feels this rage in her, and she's like, I am going to get him. I've got 99 guys and I'm about to get this one too. We're about to be 100 men on 100 blood stains on my wall kind of situation. And so she starts to interact with him. Well, he wants her to read the Count of Monte Cristo for him, which is his father's favorite book. And so they have some banter because she has seen the movie, but she has not read the book. And so she gets the ending wrong. And so they start talking about it. And eventually he wins her over. He charms her. She charms him. I don't really know, but they go on a date. And you're like, not really sure what's going on here. It seems like she has seen the side of him where he's just been damaged by the war and he really is not a bad person. He didn't really mean to hurt her friend. And so he sets up this date. And now, first of all, it was like really, really sickening seeing her arrive at this base, and all of these guys are like hooting and hollering and catcalling her and basically thinking that she's just like a lady of the night, that she's about to get in with all these guys. But no, he has set up a movie theater to watch Summer Stock, I think his name of the movie. Is like one of the few Judy Garland movies I haven't seen. And he romanticizes her on this beautiful evening, and it's gorgeous and it's so cute and so heartwarming. But then she finds out that she's like, I'm gonna take you back home with me. And so she takes him back home because she's starting to get feelings, and she's like, wait a second, we gotta end this quickly. And she finds out that he is a virgin. And this reminded me of like the whole thing with Letitia. But she finds out he's a virgin, and so she ends up telling him to get out, to leave. She doesn't, she, they kind of have a heart to heart. She doesn't want to hurt him. She's feeling, having really feelings for him, and she realizes that he doesn't really want to hurt her and that he doesn't mean to do her harm. And so she sends him away. Well, she goes to the base and she confesses, hey, you killed my best friend. And he's like, well, were you just playing me the whole time? And she's like, no, you're the first person to make me feel. Well, cut to a montage. They kiss and cut to a montage of they are in a relationship and they are dating and they are managing to get it on without her little tentacles coming out and destroying him. And they get to one moment where they are intimate and she's not able to control herself and she sees his life flashing before her eyes, but she also witnesses his death at someone else's hands. Of course, it manages to bring everything back together, but he is spooked and he's like, I'm out of here. And he leaves. She's not able to stop him. And she discusses with her mother the fact that she can feel things and maybe she's, kind of still herself. They go back to see the shaman, but the shaman's like, nope, I said 99. I said 100, and you gave me 99, and this is not enough. And she's like, okay, well, that's fine. Can you tell me if he's going to die? She burns some scroll or whatever, and we really don't get the answer to that question. Now, this was a visually stunning episode, extremely weird, lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of violence, lots of just human violence, and not all, in addition to the spiritual, mystical, magical violence that we see in the show. I do love the tie-in that it plays to bringing in other mythology because so far this has been mostly grounded in American mythology. We've got a little bit of Native American mythology with episode 4. But it was nice to get that little delve in, but my immediate reaction is frustration because I wanted to see some connection to the main storyline. I wanted to find out that this woman had some knowledge about the sons of Adam, or that she had something with the same initials, or that we were going to see one of the soldiers morph into Christine, or just something. I wanted to see something to tie this in to the normal storyline because right now this just seems like maybe Atticus is someone who is just drawn to people with mystical powers, and maybe that's it. What I suspect is that they are trying to insert a Deus Ex Machina for the show, in which eventually G.I. will come in and will be able to rescue him from a situation or give him knowledge that he needs in order to be successful and to defeat his enemies. That is what my suspicion is as of right now, because otherwise I don't see the connection. But that being said, the storyline was beautiful and sweet and heartwarming, and I felt like warm and fuzzies, which was weird to have warm and fuzzies in the midst of such a gory episode. It was also weird because I love Atticus and Letitia, right? And so I didn't really want him to have romantic feelings for Jihad. But if it gets us to Letitia and Atticus, I'm all for it because those are just, that's who we fall in love with. So I'm like, but this really weird episode, beautiful, but I just feel like I needed more to ground it in the world that we've been given so far, because right now it doesn't seem to fit in. As a potential spinoff, however, I think that there is something that could be done. I would love to see maybe a way to spin that off because the show reminded me of Xena the Warrior Princess, but season 6-ish, those of you who are old school Xena fans, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I think there's something with that. There's a lot of mystical mythology and Asian culture that can be explored, and I would love to see that. This was, I'm not a person who is bothered by subtitles at all, so that was not a problem for me. Most of the time we watch TV with subtitles because we don't want to wake the kids up. That might be hard for someone. I don't think, hopefully no one will harshly rate this episode, but this definitely was an outlier from the rest of what I believe is present in the book. I don't even know that I'm starting to read the book right now. And so in the comments below, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think Jihad is really a character in the books. So we definitely see the writers kind of stepping out and exploring ways to bring in characters and to build on the world that was created in the book so that they have multiple seasons that they can draw on. And this is kind of their first attempt at doing this. And so I think it's a good attempt. I just think they have to find a way to circle back to the main storyline and to include more clues in the main storyline again. But maybe I need to just watch it more than one time. So, what did you think about tonight's episode? Were you okay with the tentacles and the succubus and the killing the men and the exploding? Were you liking the dynamic between Jihad and Atticus? I thought their chemistry was cute together. I thought it was sweet. So what did you think about tonight's episode? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm very anxious for next week because we didn't get a main storyline episode, and next week is Hippolytus episode, which I've been craving that from like 2 episodes ago when her and Diana went off on their own. So I really want to know what she finds out. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get another early drop since we're getting this. Please, HBO, if you see this, please an early drop. But until next week, guys, I will be waiting and hopefully you will too. So until next time, toodles.